Okay, so let's take a look at how you can draw the histogram in Seaborn library. So first thing, we'll open command prompt, and here make sure that you have Python installed, and after that we will install package Seaborn, right? Also make sure to install Jupyter-lab. Once you have these two packages, you are good to go with your Jupyter Lab notebook, right? You can open that by typing in Jupyter, then notebook. Alternatively, just start the Jupyter-lab and it should start the Jupyter server. Right now, this should open one browser window, as you can see, and here we will be typing our code. So let me get rid of any previous code that was left here. Right now I'm going to use import. First I will have to use numpy and np. Also I will have to import Seaborn as SNS, right? I will be making sure to also create some sample data with x and y values, right? So let's start with something like np.random state, right? And next thing we will be also be using our x, and then trying to get the normal function for this, and for that we will use 0 1, and size we can specify here is 1000, right? And after that we can simply form data frame by giving a curly bracket and single quote within which we will be trying to locating the x. So we have our data frame ready. Now the thing is, I'll just have to call histplot function from SNS object, right? So we will be passing in value of x, right? So let's just select and run. If everything is correct, it should show us the histogram using this Seaborn library, right? So let's wait for it to show the output. As you can see, it has created two things within the notebook, one showing you the subplot, and second it has shown you the histogram below that, right? Subplot related statement at the top. Also the y label is given here, count, right? So this is the most basic histogram plot that you can see, right? You can change the rotation, and instead of x equals to x you can set y equals to x. It should shift the rotation from vertical to horizontal, right? As you can see, rotation, orientation, you can see orientation for your plot is now changed by using y set to x, right? We can also shrink the width of these bars, right? If I want to shrink them, I will have to use this shrink equals to 0.5, right? So let's say if I select this now and run, it should shrink the bars. Now there is a gap between the bars of those values, right? Also I can do the step histogram as well, right? So instead of shrink, let me add parameter called element. So element equals to, I can use step, and I'm going to use the double quotes for this, so you may want to check that. Notice the step format within your histogram, right? Like this we can change a lot of elements and get the different type of histogram plots, right? So here let's say if I choose poly instead of step, it should give you different plot, right? And we will also see the density, right? So if we run this, notice that it has caused a lot of errors. So I want to see what could be the error. So it seems like this element is missing, right? So it is not plotting. Element must be one of the bars, tape and poly, but density was passed, so it's not available. So we will move on to different, right? So let's also take a look at frequency, right? So in case of density, you will be dealing with additional parameters before passing the element, right? So let's run this and see frequency is available. Also frequency is not available because I will have to additionally give it data for it to appear. So we have element left is bars, right? So let's try and take a look at that. Select this and we get our bars here. The reason being, we will have to change few data and then pass those frequency and density related element to our histplot function. Often what happens is that the default data that we have passed is well and good enough to do the element plotting, right? There is also one more thing which is known as bean width. So instead of elements, we will use bean width set to 0.5, right? So if I select this, our bean width are now visible, right? Similarly, you can also adjust the number of beans, right? So beans equal to 5, right? And if I run this, we get the bean. Notice that the size is pretty much high when you manipulate the beans, right? So if I go with 20, then suddenly size will shrink, right? And similarly, we can also use one of the sturges. So sturges, right? So sturges, if we use and run, it will show you output like this, right? Now apart from this, let's see if I choose bin of 10, right, and run, it should show something decent. Now let's play with a few of the parameters, right? So say if I choose parameter like color, so color, let's see, red, and if I run this, it should change the histogram plot's color. Now if I try and adjust the transparency, I will have to use alpha set to point, say 5. Now if I run this, it should show something like this, right? Now we can also remove the fill, right? So it should appear as white, right? So if I remove fill with fill equals to, let's say, false, right? So fill false, and if I run this, as you can see, it will show skeleton like view, right? Alternatively, we can also say use this color red and then try and get the border and borders color. So let's say if I go with edge color set to white and line width set to 2, right? If I run this, it will look something like this, right? So this comes in handy when you choose to set the custom background or custom grid to your Seaborn plot and then use the combination for border and width, right? Then it would appear a lot more clear as well, right? So this is kind of a simple exposure to histogram created using Seaborn library in Python.